Up in the northern part of Europe is the small country of Lithuania. It's about the size of the state of West Virginia and has a population of around 3.2 million people. Laymen Ministries has been working in this small, cold country since 1993. Lithuania is full of historical culture and architecture. For instance, in the southeastern part of Lithuania is Trakkai Castle, which is beautifully located on the island of Lake Gatvė. At one time, this castle was the capital of Lithuania, as it held great strategic importance. Construction on Trakkai began in the 14th century by Duke Kęstutis, with many of the major works being completed by his son Vladius the Great, who became one of the most famous rulers of medieval Lithuania.
It was said that the water level around this castle was originally probably about 6 to 9 feet higher than it is currently today. This is what is called the keep, or the donjon, where we get the modern word dungeon. A lot of people have a misconception of what a dungeon is. A dungeon in medieval times oftentimes could be used as a prison, but it's also a place for munitions to be stored. Sometimes there was a chapel up there. Of course, there was always the damsel in distress that was at the very top. But this, originally, since the water was a lot higher here, this had a moat and it had a drawbridge on it. So this could actually be a separated part of the castle from the rest of the castle area.
I love exploring old castles with their narrow passageways and various chambers. The woodwork is traditional Lithuanian style. The courtyard has a unique covered walkway along one building, and the dungeon stands out magnificently against the sky.
And of course, in the 14th century, if you got in trouble, this is where you would end up.
And no castle is to be complete without knights and armor.
One looks over the history of what happened in Europe, you can see the spiritual battles that took place. Like for instance, you had the Lithuanian pagans that needed to be converted. So the Teutonic Knights came up here, and they would have been a horrifying sight to see with their metal helmets and their white outfits and their horses dressed, in white, and the Maltese crosses on them, coming to, quote, convert these pagans to Christianity. How God's character was mislined and how people perceived Christianity at that time. It really did an injustice to the concept of Christianity.
On our first Sabbath on this trip, we had fellowship at this small church in Vilkaviškis. This church is pastored by Arūnas and his wife Noringa, who coordinate the work of Laymen Ministries in Lithuania. This was going to be a special Sabbath as they had a baptism that afternoon, and they wanted me to speak on the significance of baptism. For years, Laymen Ministries has been supporting pastors and Bible workers in Lithuania. Such was the case with Jozas, who was a Bible worker and who now is a lay pastor. He had a special season of prayer with Jokabas, who was going to be baptized that day.
Jozas was a Bible worker. He was a good Bible worker, and he was invited to be a pastor. After some time, he found a way to work in the prison, and he started to work in Marijampolė prison. And now it's 3.5 years he's working there, and he baptized 9 people there. And after some time, he also started to work in Alytus prison as well, and he was in contact with Jokūbas. Actually, he was in prison 27 years, and now he's 43 age, and from his youth, he was almost all time in prison. At first, we were studying Bible studies in the groups in the prison in Alytus, and now we had Bible studies in Marijampolė. So after all the Bible studies, Jokūbas decided to be baptized.
The place of the baptism was this cold lake on this chilly spring afternoon. The church group came to show their support. Another prayer of dedication was offered, then Jozas and Jokūbas headed to the water. Jokubas is grounded in the Word and is a dedicated worker for the Lord, sharing his faith with others. Since 1993, hundreds of baptisms have taken place because of the dedicated work of Laymen Ministries Bible workers. After the baptism, there was a wonderful fellowship meal. There was also a good assortment of healthy Lithuanian dishes. Speaking of Bible workers, Arūnas and I decided to drive up to the city of Ukmergė to see Donna, another one of our Bible workers. Outside of Ukmergė, there are graveyards and monuments that stand out as a constant reminder of the geopolitical powers that have tried to control Europe and occupied Lithuania. Ah, potatoes. This is the national food of Lithuania. Donna has prepared a nice meal for us. She explained to us how the Bible workers all have different styles to make Bible study contacts. For instance, she likes going door to door with a program we call the Lending Library. This is where the workers go door to door and show various books they have for sale. If the people can't afford to buy them, the Bible workers offer to lend the book. Then they come back in a week or two, get the book, and offer another one. This way they can answer any questions the people might have and make friends. By this method, Donna explained, she had several Bible studies in homes that she was now visiting every week. She went on to explain about one recent incident. Donna made her way to a very rundown part of the city, to a block of flats where the people are very poor. She mentioned that this part of town was very old and had a lot of crime. She made her way to the door, and using the lending library concept, she gave the lady named Adrone a copy of the devotional book entitled Firm Foundations by Mark Finley. A couple weeks later, Donna came back to answer questions regarding the book she had lent to Adrone. Donna soon learned that Adrone grew up in an orphanage, had a rough life with drugs and alcohol, and was, in the last few years, seeking new directions for her life. Adrone also explained that receiving this book was due to the Holy Spirit's leading. Donna answered Adrone's questions and then went on to show her the book Patriarchs and Prophets, explaining how this book would help answer the questions about why sin was permitted. When they were done, they had prayer together. One-on-one Bible studies often come from contacts just like this one. Remembering that Adrone came from an orphanage, many of you may recall seeing video footage of our older programs about how Laymen Ministries has been helping poor orphanages across Lithuania. Over the years, shoes, clothes, books, and other items have been given to orphans and the staff alike in the poorest of the orphanages. With Lithuania having one of the highest rates of unemployment, alcoholism, and depression and suicide in Europe, this leads to a lot of children who end up abandoned to orphanages. While on this trip, we met with the assistant director of the orphanage in Jurbarke. We took some of the kids from the orphanage to help us carry clothes we were going to buy from a local shop.
If you saw one of our previous videos, we actually went into a large shopping, kind of like a center mall area, and shopped with the directors. But this shop here is one that's really close to the orphanage. So the director came over here with some of the kids, and they bought a bunch of clothes, and we're paying for it right now, and we're going to take it back to the orphanage. One of the things that we like to do too is not only help some of the poor orphanages with clothes, but we like to give literature to the kids and to all the faculty and staff of the orphanages. Okay. Ačiū. Nice doing business with you.
When we arrived back at the orphanage, we were informed that almost all the orphans were in school, so there was not much of a show while distributing some of our items. The few children that were there received a few of the items, and of course, they were especially happy to get the basketballs. Something as simple as a ball can open the heart to accepting the spiritual mentoring they need. We always share books with the children and the staff as well. These books are entitled New Start by Dr. Vernon Foster. We also had an assortment of children's books as well. Most of these books are the ones Laymen Ministries has published over the years. Our Bible workers often visit various orphanages, sharing clothing, shoes, toothpaste, soap, books, and holding special programs for the children on the holidays. Over the years, Laymen Ministries has helped not only this orphanage in Jurbarke, but all across Lithuania.
Today we're in for a special treat. Some of the ladies have come here to the little church and they're going to demonstrate some traditional Lithuanian food. I think one of the dishes is going to be like a beet borscht. They call it cold beet soup. That sounds interesting. And then some other kind of potato dish. So let's go see what they're doing.
When I came in, the first thing I saw was ladies peeling potatoes. Of course, I love potatoes because I live in Idaho, which is famous for potatoes.
A lot of the Adventists here in Lithuania are ovo-lacto vegetarian. They're not vegan in the truest sense of the word, but a lot of this is kind of new for them, from eating a lot of meat and such to vegetarianism. What is the ingredients that you're making this? What did you call it again? It's called bulvas.
Bulva plokštainis.
Plokštainis. Means basically potato pudding.
Yeah, potato
so what all are you putting in this now?
We will put eggs, sour cream, milk, pumpkin, butter, onions,
and
potatoes. Yes.
I have noticed that several of the potato-based dishes in Lithuania use a combination of cooked and raw potatoes in the preparation process.
Lithuanian.
This at Remus's house one time.
Yeah.
And it's like,
This is mustard oil.
do they make it from mustard seed?
Yes, that's right.
While this bulvius flashtainus, or potato pudding, is baking in the oven, Noringa headed out to the small garden behind the church to get some things for the cold beet soup.
This is spring onions. Šaltibarščiai.
How do you translate that in English?
Cold beet soup.
Cold beet soup.
Šaltibarščiai.
This dish is an old favorite among Lithuanian people, using raw grated cucumbers mixed with some dill, and then a good amount of shredded cooked beets. Buttermilk is then added along with some green onion tops. mixture is diluted with some cold water. A couple chopped boiled eggs are added, and the soup is basically finished. It's often eaten with boiled potatoes. Got the potatoes here, and the cold beet soup. And I'm still thinking about this stuff. Definitely better than lop lop and Vanuatu. So this is the potato pudding. We'll give a sample try here of this stuff. That's actually pretty good stuff. Trying to have something about food.
Yeah, no, you didn't send it.
With the majority of Lithuania's population living in these block of flats, or what we would call apartment complexes, it used to be easy having our Bible workers go door to door. But then to cut down on crime, many of the buildings added security keyways on big metal doors, which made it nearly impossible for the Bible workers to go door to door in these block of flat buildings. Arūnas came up with an idea, and that was to advertise the lending library in a newspaper. In one incident, an 80-year-old woman who lived way out in the country saw the advertisement and was very interested in getting some Christian books. She called the number, and Arūnas answered the phone.
What's up? Yeah.
He took down her address so we could go and pay a visit and take her some books. He packed up some of the wonderful books such as The Desire of Ages and Steps to Christ and headed out to meet this lady. After a 30-minute drive, he was out in the country at a small rural home. To his surprise, there was not only an elderly lady who was interested, but also her son and granddaughter as well. Books were put into their hands, but more than books, a personal contact was made. This led to group Bible studies at these people's home. Even some of the local church members started coming and helping. Lots of questions started being asked and answered from the Bible. Since the newspaper ad had worked so well, Arūnas got another idea and approached Laymen Ministries about it. That was publishing our own newspaper. Neringa started right off designing the newspaper, which we entitled The Source of Hope. We included articles on the family, health, and Bible topics. We printed several issues now, and the demand is growing, and we are finding a lot of interested readers. We're here in an underground prison cell at the 9th Fort. This fort became known as the Fort of Death during World War II. Just outside the city of Kaunas is the infamous 9th Fort. Back in the late 1800s, the city of Kaunas was surrounded by 8 forts and 9 gun batteries to protect it from invading forces. The 9th Fort was added to protect the northern part of the city and was finished on the eve of World War I. On June 22, 1941, the German army invaded Lithuania under the direction of Adolf Hitler. The Germans were first seen as liberators from the Russians, but soon the Lithuanian people realized that they were under a new reign of occupation. Thousands of Jews were shipped from Germany to Lithuania on trains. They became known as the Reich Jews. Also, Jews from all over Lithuania were gathered and brought to the 9th Fort, which served as a concentration camp. It is estimated that over 30,000 Jews lost their lives at the 9th Fort.
was against these walls right here where a lot of the prisoners were executed. Their bodies were taken to a mass burial grave just on the other side of the main fort wall on this side over here.
As I thought about the Ninth Fort, I realized that it was a privilege to be involved with bringing hope to a country that has seen so many seemingly hopeless situations. At the little church in Vilkaviškis, we are holding our annual Bible worker meeting. Pastor Arūnas led out in the song service, and I spent some time going over the history of Laymen Ministries in Lithuania, and then shared some words of encouragement.
Do you sometimes get discouraged?
We then sat in a group discussion talking about how we could improve our work, come up with new ideas for outreach, and overlook new materials that we could publish for distribution. We have a great team of Bible workers who are dedicated to sharing the truths of God's Word with people. They have good success in their outreach, yet they seek to do better in pioneering the work in this little country.
One of our newest Bible workers is Albina. She's been with us for about 2.5 years. She actually works in the city of Vilnius, but she's been coming to this city. It's probably about 35 kilometers away from Vilnius. And her and the mission president were involved with some meetings that took place here 2 years ago. They had like a prophecy seminar and some health meetings, and they generated some interest with the call porters and with those meetings. And there was a small church group that was raised up because of that, and they started renting a room in this commercial building here. It's just one small little like office room, and they're using it as a church. And this is Wednesday evening, so they're having a Wednesday night meeting, and I'd just like to show you what they're doing here and how many people are coming out on Wednesday night. I guess on Sabbath they have even more than this. It's getting quite full. Albina is kind of a special person because she's very creative. She's done call porter work for quite a number of years before she started being a Bible worker with our ministry, and she still does the call porter work from time to time, along with doing door-to-door Bible work and the lending library and such. But one of the things I found out that was really interesting she does is in Vilnius, which is a really old city, like I say, it's the capital city here in Lithuania, she goes to an old historic part of town outside of a big Catholic church, which is a really big tourist area. And she lays out on the sidewalk a couple blankets, and she puts books like Desire of Ages, Great Controversy, Steps to Christ, different books like that that we've been publishing for the years here. And she sells them to people who are going in and out of the church there. She's got a real burden for the work and is very creative in what she does.
Albina was leading out in a Bible reading when we entered. These people were eagerly searching for truth found in God's Word. This group consisted of all ages, and the discussion was very lively and Bible-based. It is by personal visitation and Bible studies all across Lithuania that is making a difference in people's lives. Pray for our Bible workers that they may meet the challenges that come with sharing the truth. Pray that hearts will be touched. And thank you for your prayers and support.
Yeah, so this will make things a little bit easier maybe for you. Today we've been invited to go to the mission office. We're going to meet with Bertold, the mission president in Ginteres. He used to work with us as a Bible worker. He's the mission secretary now. Mr. Famous Man. Nice to see you.
Laymen Ministries was one of the first organizations to start working in Lithuania, even before there was an organized mission office. Some years later, a mission was organized by the Adventist Church, and some of these people that we saw give their hearts to the Lord were soon working for the church organization. Bertold, the mission president, has been a good friend and a co-worker for years, long before he was mission president. Davidus, the treasurer of the mission, used to work in Laymen Ministries publishing house, while Ginteres, the mission secretary, used to be one of our Bible workers. Whenever I come to Lithuania, we meet and discuss how Laymen Ministries and the mission can work better in bringing souls to the truth.
mano sūnaus problemos su
We were reminded again, even last night here in Lithuania, in the city of Vilkaviškis, as we were looking out on the balcony at this block of flats, or what we would call apartments behind us here, that these different individual flats and apartments had lights flashing of the televisions inside. The way people are communicating is different. People aren't sitting around reading books like they used to. They're glued in front of a television set when they come home. And this whole idea of being able to reach people has got to start changing. We're in a really remote farm area here in Lithuania, and to our amazement they do. They have high-speed internet, and they just got done watching Laymen Ministries' Lithuanian program off of YouTube just a couple seconds ago. So it's one of the reasons we really need to get into developing a lot of different language type videos that are short videos that are on YouTube and some of the other servers out there, so people can watch those kind of presentations in their own language. This is going to be the way that we're going to be making more of our contacts in the future. Then they can get on the internet, contact somebody through an email address and start correspondence that way. It doesn't matter whether you're in the jungles of Vanuatu, whether you're in the comforts of the United States or all across Europe. We can't just have meetings and expect people to come to seminars and meetings like we've done in the past. We need to go where the people are at.
Trumpai liūdina. Vyras gal nespėja.